Steve, we've got 24 folks online now, and it has slowed down. So let me do the standard reminder that we are recording, which Gordon brilliantly noticed a few minutes ago. We are recording. I will cut out personal health information, and we do have a couple of matters to cover as we come to the invocation. So Steve, I'm going to mute all and turn it over to you. It is yours to go.
Good afternoon, and hope a few more people continue to join us. Good to see all of you. Yep, I see. Good to see everybody that's on here so far.
Okay, I picked up a piece that I got from Duke Divinity School yesterday, and in the front is a prayer. And I thought, well, it'd probably do a lot of those people a whole lot of good to have a prayer from Duke today. But what really got my attention was it's entitled "A Prayer for Looking Back on 2020." And there's been a lot of that the last few days, being sort of an anniversary of the beginning of when we recognized the pandemic. This prayer has been attributed to St. Augustine of Hippo, who lived in the 4th and 5th centuries, and who arguably had more influence on Western Christianity than anyone else. So let's bow, and we will use his prayer as our prayer today, looking back on 2020. God of life, there are days when the burdens we carry are heavy on our shoulders and weigh us down. When the road seems dreary and endless, the sky's gray and threatening, when our lives have no music in them, and our hearts are lonely, and our souls have lost their courage. Flood the path with light. Turn our eyes to where the skies are full of promise. Tune our hearts to brave music. Give us the sense of comradeship with heroes and saints of every age, and so quicken our spirits that we may be able to encourage the souls of all who journey with us on the road of life, to your honor and glory. And finally, oh God, we pray for those we've named today who have special needs. We pray for Norma and for Tony, for Paula and her family, for others we name in our hearts. Amen.
Thank you, Sandy. And Dean McMahon is our Sergeant at Arms this month, so I'll turn it over to him for the pledge and the four-way test.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And join me in the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Dean. Let's see, I guess Happy Dollars would be next. I was going to charge John Keith $5 because today's his birthday. But he's not on with us today. He must be out celebrating. I'll put in $5 for Georgia Tech, moving to the finals of the ACC tournament without having to play Virginia tonight.
I'll put in $5 for Appalachian State having won the Sun Belt Conference in the head coach's second year and moving toward what is almost certainly a number 16 seed.
Very good. Anybody else have any Happy Dollars today?
I guess I'll put in 5. My wife got her second shot this morning, and I'm getting mine at 3 o'clock.
Very good.
This is Paul. I have $5. I've really been having fun this week with Kit, and I've had my 2 Pauls, Paul the Third and Paul the Fourth. We've had a great time. By the way, Paul the Third went to the Michigan Appalachian State game. And you remember that game, I think, Cecil, football.
Fairly well, yes.
And my other son who went to Appalachian State says that they have the best football and basketball team in the state this year. And that's
I don't
coming
know
from a
about
Dookie.
that.
Anyone else?
Cecil, this is Brandon Wilson. I'd like to put in $5 of happy dollars. I saw Ken Howe was on the call. Just want to give a shout out to him and his entire staff. He opened up his doors. We had a 2-day leadership retreat for my team across the state this week. Had it at Lake Junaluska at the Terrace, and we had a great time. The lake was beautiful, and really appreciate Ken working with us on that. So I'll give $5 happy dollars for that.
I have another $5, and that's for today. Ken hosted with leadership coming from other people on the lake for a TEDx talk. It was supposed to be publicly attended, but of course, for the virus, they weren't able to do that. But it was a great start, and Ken spoke briefly, but particularly Chuck Lip did a great job on putting that together. And thank you, Ken, for letting your, I believe they call that the former head of Board of Education for the Methodist Episcopal Church South building, right?
Good deal. Anyone else with happy dollars? Okay, and we'll move on to announcements. Ed LaFontaine, you want to announce the program you talked to me about?
Thank you, President Steve. Wanted to mention to the club members a opportunity that's going to be coming up at the end of April. So about 6 weeks from now. Specifically, it's Tuesday, April the 27th. And the Sunrise Club is going to be hosting or having as their speaker that morning, a individual by the name of John Furr. John has an interesting history in the military. He was a pilot and flew with great honors during Vietnam War, but probably his recognition more than that was that he had the opportunity to be John McCain's roommate in the Hanoi Hilton, and also he was a pallbearer and speaker at McCain's funeral. So he's going to be the program for the Sunrise Club on the 27th. That will be a Zoom meeting. It's a 7:00 meeting, and we'll get additional information out to you with respect to just a reminder of the meeting, but also the Zoom connection. But I would encourage people to sign in. I think it'll be a great program.
It sounds like it. I'm going to try to zoom in for it. I hope a number of you do. Mark Baumgartner, do you have an announcement about the open door yet? Early.
Thank you, President Steve. We've got a couple weeks to be on the 25th of March, Thursday, the 25th. We'll be, of course, volunteering at the open door, and hope we can have some good volunteers to handle that cooking opportunity.
Marcus is Elwood. Count me in.
Got you down, Larry. Thank you.
My shoulder's recovered to the point where I'll volunteer for this month too, Mark.
Thank you, Steve. Got you down. And we, of course, will be sending out the email for looking for other volunteers. Do that next week. Thank you.
Those of you who looked at your other emails as you were opening your Zoom invitation might have seen that Cecil has already sent out the ballots for the election for the board of directors for the next 3 years. Cecil, do you want to give us an update on who's on the ballot?
Certainly be glad to. In somewhat alphabetical order, Larry Clark, Karen Denny, John Keith, Justin Powell, Bronwyn Talley Coffey, and out of alphabetical order, but don't read anything into it, Ed LaFontaine. And I would say thank you to all those who have voted early, and thank you to those who have voted early and often. We've had a good response already early this morning. Your ballot does include several different ways that you can vote, get your vote registered. The deadline for voting is in the ballot. I want to say I've forgotten exactly, so I better not say anything, but I did put a deadline in there, and it's either Wednesday or Thursday of next week. We will not have any drop boxes on Main Street. They were ruled out. I'm sorry. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Cecil.
We're not going to have anybody aggregating the ballots.
We have three special security suitcases that we're going to hide in different places in the county and move them around.
Ed, are you volunteering to help count votes? Okay. Also, Cecil put a notice in the Spoke about the transition to the new accounting package is up and running. And we certainly appreciate all the work Cecil's put into that. It's so tight now that we know what our bank balance is. So we're going to run with that and make good use of the programs that are available through Rotary. Any other announcements today? All right, then let's see. Paula is our program chairman this month, but she's not available. Is someone volunteered to introduce our program today?
I'll volunteer. Our program today is Dr. Shelley White. Some folks that you know probably know her, being a fellow Rotarian and a former speaker. The impeccable Shelley White is going to talk to us about activities at HCC and answer all of your burning questions. So Dr. White, thank you for being with us today, and let's turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Cecil, and thanks to everyone. It's good to be back as your speaker as a member. So I'm excited to share some updates with you. Before I get into my presentation, I'll just say I'm just now celebrating about 14 and a half months of being here on the job at HCC, and excited to have passed that 1 year mark, and now excited to have passed the 1 year of dealing with COVID mark here on campus. So Karen can recall this probably as good as I can, but a year ago this weekend, we were called to a special called meeting by our system president. It was on a Sunday. So our response team, we had already kind of gathered a COVID response team in the weeks or so prior to that, met on a Sunday here in our administration building, and were heavily advised to find a way not to have students on our campus the following day. And so we were very creative in working with our spring break and moving that to that week. So we effectively shifted spring break and used that time to, within a matter of days, shift all of our programming online to the extent that we could, and approximately 85% of our workforce to telecommute during those first couple of months during what you would call the lockdown phase of the coronavirus response. So I'm happy to say, though, that by May, we were bringing students back to campus to finish out their hands-on training for the spring term last year. We operated fairly regular environment for summer because we have a lot of our classes were already planned for online in the summer. And then we spent the summer planning for a safe return for fall. And that's been kind of our mode of operation ever since, having kind of a more heavily focused online presence, but still providing those safer environments for our students in hands-on programs to get in and complete their hours and complete their work. And, we've followed similar trends as we have in Haywood County. When Haywood County saw the spike there right after the holidays, we too experienced a spike that we were tracking with our students and employees. And thankfully, answer to prayers that those numbers have just leveled back down to almost zero here. And as we're excited to be hearing more about, vaccine availability and just those continued trends, that as we're looking towards fall of 2021, planning for more of a traditional return for that class starting then, and then also just continuing to be prepared to pivot as we need to. So it's been a very interesting year, being my first year here on the job, but there's no place else I would have rather been. It's been an exciting time, a growing time, and I'm here, as Paula asked me, to talk with you about an exciting new project here on our campus, which is our Health Sciences Education Building. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and so if you saw, can you see that okay? Okay. So you saw in the paper this week, we did have some exciting news about our Health Sciences Education Building. We had a groundbreaking, so that's the culmination of my presentation today, but just wanted to recap this project for you and kind of give you some details on how the project originated, the partnerships involved, and the exciting news that we're moving ahead. And definitely within the season of COVID, this has been something that's really kept us energized and moving forward, kind of focused on the future, and in a way to support the community post-COVID as we've had an increased emphasis in healthcare needs and the healthcare field. So this is and you'll see this image later in the presentation, but this is a rendering of the outside of the new health building from the design phase. So our new Health Sciences Education Building kind of founded on several tenets and the visioning that happened as the project began to come to fruition over 2 years ago. Sharing that timeline, there had been discussion about how to invest in our healthcare programs here, and through a turn of events and partners coming together, those plans started to emerge in 2019. So supporting the future of healthcare education in our area, expanding, enhancing, and modernizing our students' experience, and then supplying critical healthcare professionals for our region. So back in May of 2019, when folks could stand closer together, this was our Board of Trustees and Anthony Sutton, chair of the Haywood Healthcare Foundation, sharing the exciting news that the Healthcare Foundation had pledged up to $5 million to support this project. This room now, we can have 2 or 3 people in, but this is our boardroom. And what an exciting day for the college in sharing that announcement and announced to the community. So as I arrived here in January of 2020, even in that short 6 months period of time, the project was already through the design phase for the most part, and getting ready to be submitted for approvals through all of the hoops that were required to jump through for state construction. So this is an interior rendering of the building. I'll show you some layouts here in a minute that kind of give some perspective to this, but highlighting the natural setting on our campus and really fitting within the arboretum feel of our campus, the light, airy, open feel in this common area. And this is looking down the hallway towards the simulation lab and our science labs and the nursing office suite down there. So as I said before, obviously the highlight is the partnership with the Haywood Healthcare Foundation. It's wonderful demonstration of how our community works together to solve workforce needs, community needs, and looking ahead to the future. Also supported, and I'll show you some of the breakdown about this in a minute, funding through the NC Connect bond, which was a statewide bond for educational institutions several years ago. Focus on students learning from the latest technology. Our nursing students, we know from research nationwide that nursing students perform better on the job as they move into their places of work if they have more experience and exposure to simulation equipment during their training. And so it gives them an opportunity to have some hands-on time with very maybe unique situations, cases that they may not necessarily run across in their clinical experiences. So the simulation environment will really give them a chance to experience those things before they graduate. Looking at trends within the nursing profession, RN jobs will see 6.7% career growth over the next 3 years. And that's a number that was kind of pulled pre-COVID. So we're only going to expect to see that increase. As we know here locally, you know, a nursing shortage is certainly something that we're concerned about. And then the average salary for nurses in our region, close to $50,000 a year. We want to continue to support professions and career tracks that lead to sustainable living wages in our area. And then also the focus on increasing the pathways for interest in the STEM fields, so other science, technology, engineering, and math fields. Sometimes start in a science classroom, and we'll have an enhanced science lab here in this building that all of our students will have access to as they come through different science programs, including early college and our career and college promise students. This is another view of the building rendering, and we'll talk about this when we see the groundbreaking, but the question was asked about where is this on our campus? So if you are familiar with our campus, if you come up the main drive, it splits, Friedlander Drive splits off to Sawmill Drive. At the top of Sawmill Drive is College Drive. That's the corner right there. Originally the home of our first professional crafts building. So once our new crafts building was built on the campus, which is just adjacent to this space, the original professional crafts building was torn down and was kind of left as this pad space. So it's very kind of site ready, shovel ready, if you will, for this project. Had looked at that spot for some additional parking, but that was not needed. It didn't come to fruition in terms of that time period. But it's worked out very well to have that ready buildable site for this project on our campus. This is a view from what you would call the back side of the building, or the side that will face College Drive and would be right across from our early college. So this is kind of the upper level entrance there for that common space. And I know this is, you know, kind of fine minutia kind of details, but I wanted you to see some of the layouts. This is not the full length of the building because that was kind of hard to fit on one slide, but this does show some detail into the lab areas, the simulation areas where you kind of see those things that look like hospital beds kind of spread through. The simulation lab features what's called an observation area. So that's an area where our nursing faculty can manipulate and kind of program the simulation mannequins from an environment where they can watch how the students respond and kind of give the students a task to say, you know, work together to work on this patient. And then, you know, from behind the scenes, you know, think about the Wizard of Oz, kind of control the situation, and maybe, you know, they're responding to a heart attack, or they're, you know, having the patient react to medication or something like that, that the students are having to respond to as they would in a real life setting. So it's a great way to kind of have that collaborative learning experience for those students. Across the hall there, you can see there's our large science lab and our faculty suite. What's not on this slide are two things. One thing on one end and one thing on the other is our large elevated lecture hall, which will seat 85 students. And then on the other end, as an alternate, we were able to have included in this area an additional classroom because the project fell within the parameter for the cost for adding that classroom on the end. So there's a few things on here that are not on here. Let me click through again here. Okay, this is showing some of the elevation views of the elevated classroom, the lecture hall, and just kind of the profile of the building. I'll share this PowerPoint out following so you all can have access to that. And then some of the building features. So all of this in a 16,000 square foot facility. As I mentioned, it expands our simulation access, which is critical in today's learning environment. It increases our science lab capacity. So we'll have a 40-seat science lab on site, which will be utilized by multiple programs. The 85-seat lecture hall, so that our combined first and second year nursing students can all meet together in the same place. And then on the previous slide, the 60-seat classroom. So we've kind of looked at this in different ways. There's a lab space that could also be converted to classroom if needed. And then, as I mentioned, the 8-bed simulation lab with observation, which is that's going to be a fabulous learning space. So effectively, this doubles the space that we have for our nursing education. If you were to walk through the space that we have now, the Mountaineer reported it so nicely, and we were so grateful. It's a space that needs to be updated, and it's a space that, we really are excited about our students moving into this state-of-the-art facility. That's the type of environment they need to be learning in. They have been kind of working within a space that really wasn't designed for that type of training, but it's been modified to, meet the specifications. It's fully approved, all of those things. But this will really step up the level of education and access that we're able to provide for our students. I thought you might be interested to see some of the breakdowns of the project costs and the funding, as we mentioned earlier. This project, I believe, we just kind of had good things happening all along the way. The bids coming in all within a very, very tight margin, coming in kind of under budget, which we were very excited to see. That's why we were able to get almost all of the alternates that we asked for in the project. So you can see here the design fee. We worked with Little Architects out of Charlotte for the design. Construction costs, the bid went to Elford Construction, and then other contracts and surveys you can see there. I want to highlight this line here in our project funding, which is the equipment and furnishings, the 1.3 million. This, I will say, was some excellent forethought on the part of those who were in the original planning, was to include the equipment costs up front in the estimation so that we're not looking to fund this fully after the fact. So it's kind of looking at the total project cost, not just what it's going to take to build the building, but what it's going to take to fully furnish the building, fully equip the building with all of that state-of-the-art equipment that we talked about. And that includes like our IT projectors, the chairs in the lobby, like all of the things, so that it really is, this is kind of our turnkey price that you fully furnished. This is the total. So in looking at the funding piece, the pledge from Haywood Healthcare Foundation, the $5 million, along with the NC Connect bond funds that Haywood Community College received during that bond, that is the $7.8 million total for this project. All right, and we're very excited this week to have our groundbreaking, and we had great attendance. You'll see some other photos here in a minute. Mr. Marshall, our Board of Trustees chair, Anthony Sutton, who's the chair again of the Haywood Healthcare Foundation, Kevin Inslee, the chair of the Haywood County Board of Commissioners. We're all in attendance to speak, along with myself. And then we had representatives from our Board of Trustees here, Lynn Milner, Danny Wingett, Caleb Rathbone, along with Dr. Barbara Parker. She was here representing Haywood Healthcare Foundation, and what a nice way to kind of loop her into this, as she was part of that original visioning and momentum that started this project down the road. And here are some other photos from the groundbreaking. As we said, for March 9th, an early March outside event date, we could not have asked for better weather. It was beautiful. And, you know, here we are gathering for one of the first times in the past year. We have not had an event like this on our campus in the past year. So it was great to see folks. It was great to have the community come out. Others from, you know, our faculty. This is Dr. Putnam, our nursing director here in this photo with Michael Coleman and Wendy Hines, who are two of our vice presidents here. So nursing faculty came out. We had several commissioners who were here. 4 of our county commissioners came to the groundbreaking. It was just a great event. You can see here our pile of dirt with our shovels. It was a fun day. So I said a few words along with Mr. Marshall, Anthony Sutton again. He shared his thoughts, and then Kevin Inslee shared his thoughts in supporting vocational education here in Haywood County. And here's another shot kind of from up on the hill. And you can see from this angle a little bit better where this is positioned. This is kind of angled up towards College Drive, and then back this way is Sawmill Drive. You can just barely see kind of the top. I believe this is the top of our current nursing building, and this is the Buckeye building, which is where our marketing department is. So if you're familiar with this drive, that's where it's located there. So you can see how it's all level, and it's a great spot to begin the construction work here. So looking ahead with the project, so officially construction is underway. We have signed contract and all of that. That was all completed at the end of January, first part of February. They've put up the construction fencing and started moving in some equipment. A 1-year construction timeline is what we are anticipating. Our expected move-in for the program is spring of 2022. And that would be access for existing students. So what we're thinking is that we will have that semester to kind of move in and start to get things settled. And so our current students next spring would be able to get into some of those simulation labs and start to work in those spaces. And then really the unveiling for our new students would be for fall of 2022 as they start their programs in the fall that year. So there would be some limited usage between the spring and fall next year, but just fine tuning all of that. It does, by the time they turn the building over to us, then there's other things that have to happen, and sometimes those take weeks and months even to get all of that set up for a full usage. So we're very excited about that. That's all I had on the health building. So I kind of stop there and see if folks have questions about the project, about the progress we've seen so far. Again, we're very excited about this project and excited to have something to kind of set our sights on beyond and post-COVID to support the healthcare community. We do anticipate making updates and upgrades in the building where our nursing program currently is, because we'll continue to use that building for other purposes. And we'll also be looking, oh yeah, go ahead, Steve.
30-something years ago, when I was serving on a council or a committee of looking into the nursing shortage in Western North Carolina, one of those obstacles that, that we found in nursing programs across the state and really across the region was that so many of them use different nursing curriculums. So is there a standard nursing curriculum for all the community colleges in the state, or does each program have the flexibility to choose their own nursing theories and philosophies?
So we're governed under the North Carolina Board of Nursing, which has certain criteria that we must cover and that they must approve. So whereas, a textbook might be different from one school to another, the the core criteria of what we cover has to be consistent. So maybe that addresses concerns that were raised in earlier years.
At that time, it was impossible for a student from Western to transfer to the program at UNCA or to another program somewhere else in the state because they had different nursing philosophy things that the program administration believed in and refused to let other nurses transfer from school to school. Is that still true?
I'm not sure if that's true. My guess is, because I know that we have students that go to a variety of different schools when they leave us as they're seeking their bachelor's in nursing. As far as if a student at Haywood Community College needed or wanted to transfer to another college, their credits would transfer and they would be able to be accepted into an associate's degree in nursing program anywhere within the state.
Well, that's good. That's what I consider good progress, even though it was 30-something years ago.
Mm-hmm.
How does HCC rank in the state in their program?
The program is ranked in different ways. So we do have test scores that are released every year. So that's the NCLEX, that's the percentage of our students who pass the state nursing test on their first try. Right now, our pass rate is about 79, which is not where we need to be. We increased our pass rate 14 points over the last year. So that tends to fluctuate. It's not necessarily ranked in terms of first, second, third, but we do have some work to go on that. Size-wise, I would say we're still among the smaller programs in the state. We can take 38 new students every year. We are in a nursing consortium with Tri-County Community College, and they also take 38 students a year, and we work together with our faculty to help reduce costs. That's a partnership that's been in place for, I don't know, Karen, over 30 years, I believe, since the 80s. And that partnership continues, and we're able to leverage some of those higher costs of the program by sharing some of the faculty. But yeah, we have opportunities to grow. We have opportunities to improve, and I believe that all of the things that we're talking about with the new facility will help us move in that direction.
I've got a question. This is Paul. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm wondering if the new building will help increase the number of students you can have in the school, and also what the breakdown is between male and female, because I know when I got my first shot, one of your students shot me, a young man from from one of your classes, but I've seen more men to go into the profession as well. Can you tell us about the breakdown you have?
And those are both excellent questions. So I'll address the first question, which is about capacity. And yes, that's something that once we're in the facility, we can apply for additional spots. That's something that the Board of Nursing also closely regulates, because they want to make sure that you have the facilities, capacity, your faculty, and clinical spaces to be able to support the numbers of students that you take into the program. So once we are in the facility, we'll be able to apply for that. And it's hard to say right now how many additional spots we might be able to open up, but we would look to do that. The other thing that we're looking into is the possibility of opening an LPN track, which is a one-year nursing track. In effect, that could potentially double the number of students we see, but those students would be on a one-year track. They may be able to bridge into the nursing program, so we would have to kind of reconfigure our numbers. But with this facility, that's something that we can be considered for as well. And about your question on the male versus female. So I know that we have, I would say, a couple of male students each year. Percentage-wise, I'd say it's probably 5 to less than 10% male versus female students, but we do see them. We do see males in our program on an annual basis.
Would you tell us a little bit more about the Haywood Health Care Foundation? They're supplying over $5 million of the total cost of the new building. Tell us about your relationship with them and how are they related, if in any way, to the hospital as well?
So the Haywood Healthcare Foundation was developed, created, and others here may be able to answer this better than I can, upon the sale of the hospital. Is that correct? And that created a foundation to support the healthcare needs of Haywood County. And so those funds, they have their own board of directors and have different initiatives to help support the needs of underserved populations here in Haywood County. They have access to testing and medical services for individuals who may not be insured or can't pay for those services. And they adopted this project as a way to give back to the community. So I was just kind of looking across the page here to see if there's others who might want to jump in and talk a little bit more about the history of that foundation.
The foundation was formed in the mid to late 80s as support for the Haywood County, what was then Haywood County Hospital. And it ran as a foundation supporting the hospital for years and years. And then when the hospital was sold to a for-profit organization, the foundation had to separate itself. And then as the county examined what they wanted to do with the money they received for that sale, they decided they would put that money into the Haywood Healthcare Foundation for them to manage and to provide funding for health initiatives throughout the county. I happened to be part of the hospital when we formed the foundation, so I know how far back it goes. Jeff, is there any correction to my comments?
No, I don't think so.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
There are probably several people who have served on that foundation board over the years. Any of you have any comments? Hope that answers your question, George.
Thank you, Steve, for jumping in. Any other questions? All right. Well, if anything comes up or if you have any questions about anything else we're doing, we are excited to be moving forward. We're engaged in strategic planning right now. It's the time to do that. We're just kind of rounding out the third year of a 3-year strategic plan. So as you can imagine, strategic planning during COVID has been interesting. So we've not been able to have our group sessions and breakout groups and boards and all of that. We've been doing all of that on Zoom and surveys and collecting information. So we'll be engaged in strategic planning this spring and launching a new strategic plan for the college this summer. Looking at moving ahead and what we're continue to be positioned to respond to the needs of the community. And we're here. Just let me know if there's anything we can do to assist. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Shelley.
Very good, Shelley. Just in case you didn't realize it, guys and gals, Shelley's phone number is in our directory. So you have your own connection to Shelley White if you need to have any questions about Haywood Community College. And we're still glad to have you as our Haywood Community College president and as a Rotarian, Shelley.
Thank you.
Anything else today for the good of Rotary? Cecil.
I do, Steve. I want to introduce a new function, new to me function in using our Zoom, and it's called polling. So I have created a poll and hopefully you are seeing it. I would appreciate you answering the poll. And then I'll show you some results, I hope.
Do we do that right now?
2 questions. Yes, do it now. This is live.
The submit button does not work.
They're starting to come in some responses.
You may have to answer both questions.
Okay. 33% of the vote is in.
Cecil, while the voting is continuing, everyone needs to remember that daylight savings time starts Saturday night. So you lose an hour of sleep.
Spring forward. All right,
Not if you go to bed early enough.
Yeah, true.
All right, the voting seems to have slowed down at 40% of you, so I'm going to end the polling. And
I think for those of us who answer the first question, yes, there's nothing on the second question that I want to check. So,
correct.
so that's why you aren't getting 100%, I think.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Thank you.
If you check yes, go ahead and check something in the second question, and Cecil can ignore the results.
I've already closed the poll. So this was an experiment. I'm going to be doing a statewide training for the DWI services section out of Raleigh on telehealth services on tax day, April the 15th. And one of the things I need to be able to do during that training is some polling. So I appreciate your willingness to experiment with me and let me see how this works. So did you see the results?
No.
Now can you see the results of the poll?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you very much for playing with me for a minute.
We love you, Cecil. You're great. Okay.
Thank you, Paul.
All righty, we'll see you next week, guys, ladies.